Welcome back to the Agent Goldmine. This is the only podcast in the world that focuses on helping you go from 5 transactions a year to 20 plus. So if you're already a producing real estate agent, this show is for you to help you scale. Welcome to the Agent Goldmine, the only podcast in the world specifically for real estate agents who are stuck at 5 transactions a year to help them get to 20 plus. Your hosts, Ali Garced and Shelby Johnson, two EXP icon agents, each do over 40 transactions a year and interview others who are crushing it. In this podcast, you'll receive the knowledge to help you scale your business using systems and processes with our interviews and monologues twice a week. If you want to be a part of our community, reach out. Welcome to the show. Now, in today's episode, I am solo and I'm sad. I miss Shelby, but I took pretty much the entire month of April off and we've just missed each other. So she'll be on tomorrow. In this episode, I am answering 4 questions that came in from the audience. And I got these questions from the reviews and from some DMs on my Instagram. So if you have any questions, we will answer them. If you also want to be featured and have your question answered, the best way to do it is to leave us a 5-star review on Apple. The questions that came in here that I'm covering today are on YouTube, SEO, how to break into a new area so that way you are somebody's go-to in a different area. And we're going to wrap it up with some mindset. So without further ado, the first question that I received was from Catherine Serp. She's a realtor in our community. She's out in sunny San Diego. Her Instagram is Serp Sells. She's a Navy vet. Her question is, what is a timeline or series of episodes that a new real estate agent should do? What should the intro be? What should the path look like? She asked a couple more questions and I'm going to go through it further, but I'm going to start here. If you're looking to get clients off of YouTube, which as you know, has been the only closings that I've had for 2025 so far, we're for almost 5 months in. Every single closing that I've had has come from YouTube. I am making the switch, especially now that I am no longer physically in Tucson, Arizona, yet that's the only location where I sell. YouTube takes a long time to get started. And you know what? I want to even rephrase that. It's not time. It takes a lot of videos to get started. Whether or not you pump out the videos fast or it takes you a year to pump out a couple of videos, the time can expand. So really it's a matter of how many videos can you put out on YouTube as fast as possible, that are still quality. So let's begin with the first part of this question. So what is a timeline or a series of episodes that a new real estate agent should do? By the way, too, I don't pretend to be a real estate YouTuber, I don't pretend to be some sort of big YouTube person. I have fewer than 2,000 subscribers, but I started getting clients when I only had like 100 subscribers. So it all matters about what you say and the series of videos. So to answer this question, the series of videos, I would sit down and I would think about an entire series of whether you want to work with buyers or work with sellers. I do not suggest having one channel for both. So think about that first. There's a lot of more like brainstorming that goes behind the scenes before you just start pushing stuff out, especially on YouTube, because you do not want to confuse their algorithm. Their algorithm, once they know who you're talking to, they're going to push you in front of the appropriate clients. So before you even start making videos, think, am I looking for referrals? Am I looking like outbound referrals? Am I looking to help buyers or am I looking to help sellers? And if so, can I niche down even more? Am I looking to help VA buyers, moving to PCS into San Diego? Am I looking to work in luxury in San Diego? Am I looking to work in just one specific area, which is question number 3 of this podcast? So I would think about that, who is your audience? Because otherwise, the more crap that you put out, crap is what you're going to get back. So if you're talking about, if you're making videos that are not related to a client that you even want to work with, you're going to be in for a long ride. So, okay, whether you want to work with buyers or sellers, let's say, for example, for the sake of simplicity in this case, what's on my mind right now is buyers, because that's my bigger channel, one of my 4 channels that I have on YouTube. So with buyers, I would start with pros and cons. Pros and cons for sure, 100%. Pros and cons of living in or pros and cons of moving to San Diego. Then I would do the areas of San Diego because people on YouTube are most likely looking at YouTube because they're relocating from a different city, from a different state, sometimes a different country, especially if they're PCSing or moving in the military. So you want to go into the suburbs of San Diego. So you can make each suburb of the area, again, that you want to work. Otherwise, if you're going to be putting videos out there on suburbs that you don't want to work, you're only going to get those questions because it's the stuff that you're talking about. For example, right now I put a lot of stuff out on new construction. All my clients want new construction. Go figure, you know? So, okay. Anyway, so do every single suburb that you want to work. Think about either whether it's a zip code or a neighborhood or an area, something like that. Make a video on each neighborhood, the pros and cons, what's the lifestyle like, where's the nearest library, where's the nearest Publix or, grocery store, anything like that. Everything. What do people need to do? Where's the nearest vet? I would do a lot of map tours, so of each neighborhood too. So one overall map tour of San Diego. Where is it in relation to Mexico? Where is it in relation to LA and Bakersfield or whatever other suburbs of cities out there? Then once you have a good list of the pros and cons in general, neighborhood map tour of San Diego, the bigger city in general, neighborhood map tour of every single suburb underneath that. So +5, +10 more videos of just about that. Then I would also do suburb versus suburb, suburb A versus suburb V, and then go all the way down the list. If you already have 5 or 7, 10 different suburbs, that we learned this in like 9th grade math, right? 7th grade math, factorials, however amount that is. You have a lot of videos. So there's a ton of videos there. You could also do a series of like what $600,000 gets you in this suburb or in San Diego. You could also do more up to date or like news videos stuff, which could be, today's interest rates means that if you are a major in the Navy, or do they even have majors in the Navy? If you're an O4 in the military, let me just stick to what I know. If you're a major in the Air Force, this is the house that your BAH would allow you to get. Of course, every number is different. If you're dual military, it makes a lot of variables, of course. But I just made that and it was a pretty good hit. You could also do a section on crime or on like school districts. And again, do not put your own opinion on this because that is steering. What you could do is literally just share screen of public websites. So you do that as well. Cost of living also is also a good one. And behind the scenes too, like you physically walking out there in the neighborhoods. So people love, those are always such a hit, even if the quality is bad, but even if the quote, like video quality is bad, audio weighs a lot more and has a lot more importance than video on YouTube, believe it or not. But you can do those same videos in a walking tour as well, out and about in the neighborhood of XYZ in San Diego. And by the way, Serp, we have a really good episode on YouTube with Sam Caudle. That was episode 19. So definitely check that out for even more of a thorough review, or, anyone else wanting to get into YouTube. Check out episode 19 of this podcast, The Agent Goldmine. Also, check out episode 63 with the Mile High Brothers, Eli out in Denver, Colorado, also EXP. And check out episode 81 where Kayla Lindsay, also with EXP, talks about her YouTube success as well. She has a big following out in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I have to say, one of my biggest hits, which I highly suggest you also make a video on, are the reasons not to move to your city. Negativity always sells more than being positive, and fear sells. That's why we have media, blah blah. But my best performing video on my channel is the 4 reasons or 7 scary truths about moving to Tucson. It has 30,000 views, and I think that shows people that I'm not just trying to sell them a house. Like, Tucson isn't perfect. Oh my God, I have a hair in my mouth. Okay, there. Tucson isn't perfect. So I'm not going to pretend that it is. And in fact, while every other channel only talks about the positives, I'm here to also tell you some of the negatives. And of course, with that, you're going to get comments and be like, oh, this person's so negative that you're supposed to sell real estate in Tucson. They're not going to be your clients. A lot of times there are other real estate agents being like, do you even know if you want to sell? It doesn't matter. Like, you're here for you. And that gives you so many clients. I have clients that literally book a call with me saying, I want to work with you because you made that video and because you're real. Unlike every other video that's trying to show just like a pretty picture, of how beautiful Tucson is or how beautiful sunny San Diego is. No, there's some crime, and no, there's some homeless, and no, there's fog now, or whatever it is, whatever negativity is that you actually think is negative. That's the biggest key. Because I see sometimes like some other creators will be like, oh, there are some negatives about Tucson and it's very, very hot. Like, yeah, no crap. Like, move on to something real. Like, what actually bugs you? So that's where you're absolutely going to gain trust from the audience. 100%. I would do 7 reasons why not to move to San Diego or something like that. Those are just like the first 25 videos, maybe even 30 videos of what to post. I highly suggest before you even post anything, make sure that you have at least 10 videos ready to go, already edited, so that way you can push them all out, all public around the same time. So that way, as the algorithm starts pushing your stuff out and people start looking at your page, they see more than just 1 or 2 or 5 videos. So make sure you have a lot in the bank and a lot ready to go to buy you some time. So that way you can go on vacation, you can do whatever, you can start taking on clients and etc. The next part of your question was, what should the intro be? And this is very importante in because even though YouTube is horizontal, people watch it on your TV, not your TV, their TV, people watch it on their TVs. They're there for a little bit of a longer time compared to Instagram and TikTok. They're not there for all too long of a time. If they wanted to watch a series, they'd probably just open up Amazon Prime and watch, I don't know, the next Black Mirror episodes. So keep the intro short. Always think what is in it for them. The last thing they want to see when they click on a video is, hey, my name is Ali Garced, and I'm a real estate agent in Tucson, Arizona. And if you're looking to buy or sell, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Like, they never want that. Instead, if they clicked on a video that says suburb A versus suburb B, get the heck right into it. I always do my call to action in the middle, and then I do another call to action at the end. So now also what I'm doing as I'm getting even more and more testimonials from clients, I'll sprinkle in a testimonial in like the second half, like somewhere in like the first third and second third. And then I have the call to action at the end. So that way it's like, oh, this person actually is working, and here are some happy clients, and not just pictures, but video testimonial in their words. Like whether it takes them 10 seconds to say or 2 seconds to say, I include their testimonials. And I think it's like a pretty good way to add some character and something that's different, that what other agents are not doing at this time, I don't think. Granted, I don't really look at other agents' YouTubes really. So I don't, who knows? They maybe are doing that. Your next question about YouTube was, how do you properly advertise YouTube videos on other platforms? And the answer is, you don't. You do not push your YouTube videos anywhere, not to your mom, not to your grandma, not to your dad, not to your brother, not to any potential clients, not to military, not to nothing, not a zip. Let YouTube push it out on their own, especially in the beginning. So don't make a peep. Don't tell anybody to follow you. Don't tell anybody what your link is. Let people find you completely organically. And that is going to tell YouTube that they're giving, that your videos are good enough, that people are watching it and people are following you and subscribing to you and watching more videos because they actually searched for your content. Your friends, your family, people in the military that you're sending videos to, they're not searching for your content. They feel like they're having to watch your video to do you a solid, and they're not even going to watch the first more than 2 minutes. And that is going to kill your stats. So don't ever do that. Don't tell anybody peep. Don't even tell people your username or your handle. Don't do any of that. Just let YouTube do its thing, because I promise you, it will do its thing. Then you asked, how do you get your subscriber count up for a new agent? And my answer to that is, don't even care about subscriber count. Subscriber count does not matter. I think I started getting my first closing maybe took about maybe 3 or 4 months. I think I had about 15 videos, maybe 20. But as far as subscriber count, I could go back. I could go back and look. I don't know. It was definitely less than 1,000. For sure, it was less than 1,000. I think it may have been around 500 subscribers. But again, doesn't matter. What matters is, are you helping other people in your videos? And are you ending the videos right where the value ends? As soon as the value has ended, as soon as you have answered their questions, people are gone. Don't waste our time anymore. So just cut it. Don't even say goodbye. So what I now do whenever I have like a list of, say, for example, 10 things I learned about moving to Tucson, Arizona back in my day, I would do 10, 9, always go from highest number to lowest. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And then I do my call to action. And then I do number 1. And then I close it. I don't say goodbye. I don't say see you. Like I sometimes say see you in the next one. Or I sometimes say see you in the Zoom call. Because I'm like assuming the sale. But other than that, like do not say goodbye. People are long gone. Like once the value ends, end it, cut it. One time I had a video that my battery died. And I think I was still in the middle of my call to action. I was like, whatever. I said majority of it, so done. People are gonna be like, wait, what? But anyway, so I think I kind of went on a tangent there. Again, Sam Cottle answers that very well too in the other episodes. We have a ton of episodes on this podcast, The Agent Goldmine, for YouTube. So just search YouTube, search Kayla Lindsay, search my other videos on YouTube, and you should get some help from that too. But to further answer that, instead of you tracking how many subscribers you get, which is not the way to track it, what I would do is track how many calls or booked appointments do you get from that? How many reach outs do you get? So, for example, my call to action used to be text me. And then I started getting texts and I was like, you know what? This is getting too hard. I want to make my system more strict. So now I say the only way to start the process in working with me, should you want to work with me as your real estate agent, is to book a call on my Calendly. The link is below. So once you answer all those questions, then I'm going to meet with you over Zoom. Please have all buying parties there. And we're going to cover 3 major things. The first thing is going to be the questions that you answered, because I want to know exactly what type of property you're looking for. The second part is going to be going over the Tucson market. And the third part is going to be covering agency, compensation, and the next steps going forward. So that's what I do. Feel free to rip off and duplicate. Plus, SERP being part of our community, you already have the questions that I have for the Calendly that you could just copy and paste. Everything you just copy and paste since you have access to it all. How long should the videos last? 8 to 12 minutes is like a typical go-to from what I hear. My videos, they sometimes last like 30, 40 minutes, especially the map videos where I'm covering. I'm like going on maps.google.com. I'm sharing my screen. I'm saying, hey, this is my favorite Whole Foods because they have a bar, they have a TV. You could watch, games there. It's like pretty cool. You can order pizza. I sound so fat. And then like, I also like this restaurant or it's like going over the stuff that you like. Again, this goes into the importance of being yourself, because the people are going to be reaching out to you are the people that share your interests. So to make this a sustainable business, work with people that you like. So talk about what you like and talk about what you don't like. That's the best thing about YouTube. So, and to continue going, what metrics do you gauge on how well your videos are doing? Watch time and appointments booked. Really, like that's it. I honestly don't even worry about analytics until you have posted at least 40 videos. I used to say 20. Now I say, you know what, just keep on posting. 40 videos, 50 videos. At that point, look at your call to action. How many appointments are you getting? How many videos have you posted? So if you have 50 videos up and you only have like an average watch time of say like 3 minutes, how can you shorten that? How can you change the intro so that way you just start answering their question? Like that is what they want. Is Tucson running out of water? Start answering their question. So yeah. What equipment do I use? I use this mic that I have here so I do a lot of talking head now. Obviously, I can't do vlogs anymore because I'm no longer in Tucson. So I did as much as I could while I was still in it, knowing that I was moving. Now I just do talking head style and I share my screen. So I use my Shure MV7 microphone. I forget how much it costs. Britt got it for me for my birthday. And then I use a DJI camera. I used to use my phone, and I know that you asked part of that, like, is a phone good enough? 100% your phone is good enough. Start on your phone. The reason I ended up switching out of my phone, actually, the literal only reason, is because uploading it to a Google Drive took a long time. And even when I would set it overnight, it would just still take too long. So I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I need a little drive. What do you call that thing? SD card. So I got the DJI camera, the content combo creator 3, whatever was the one that Sam recommended. That's the one that I got. But honestly, I think my iPhone, and I think I have the iPhone. I don't have the newest iPhone. I have like maybe 2 iPhones ago. That camera works better than my DJI mic. Like, the camera quality on my iPhone is significantly better. So the longer you can stay on your phone, just make sure to turn it on airplane mode and turn off all notifications. Do that. So, and turn off Wi-Fi, because you're going to get a call. Oh my God, it messes it up every time. So yeah, right now on my podcast, I have my little Logitech. I got it for like $40 maybe on Best Buy. So that's why my video quality isn't the best for the podcast. It's better for my YouTube channels. But yeah, overall, iPhone is enough. Do not overthink it. Sound is more important than iPhone. So if you are going to be jumping around, bumping around downtown, doing driving videos, vlogging videos outside where you hear trucks and sirens and whatever, then get a Bluetooth mic. They cost like 25, maybe $35 on Amazon. And you don't even need to get a brand name. There are some that are very, very cheap. So definitely go with that. But again, do the first 20 videos, kind of analyze there. Once you get to 50 videos, that's where you can start looking at your analytics, like, for real, and start making some major changes. But after 20 videos, you're going to get a sense, and you're going to get feedback too. You're going to get comments being like, I don't know what the comments are going to be. Like, maybe get to the point, or elaborate more on this, or what do you mean by this, or I disagree. And that's great. So answer as many questions as you can, because any comment that you get on your YouTube channel is content for your next video. So hope that helps, Catherine. And yeah, that's weird that I just called you Catherine. I usually call you Serp. Question number 2 comes from Lori Pearson, and she's with the Agave Group in Tucson, Arizona, same market that I'm in. She's brokered by Tierra Antigua. Instagram, Lori Pearson, Lori. She asks, I have a luxury focused small team in Northwest Tucson, focused on 2 specific neighborhoods. And we find our listings draw buyers that are looking in Tucson and other areas that I don't work, such as Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, etc. 70% of the buyers that she attracts are from out of state. I've heard that new members are coming in from other locations. I've done all the classic common things, but how do you penetrate an area for referrals? And so I like this question because this is actually kind of similar to mine. I'm starting to get this a little bit more now than I was in the very beginning. So, for example, the way that I'm getting this now, and I'm starting to like feel her a bit, is people that are looking in Tucson. A lot of times they also look in Phoenix. It's an hour and a half north, maybe 2 hours north, depending on what part. And so when people are relocating from out of state, they don't really know Arizona. So Tucson, Sierra Vista, do I go north, south, Grand Canyon? There's like the whole world is an oyster, and they don't know. So they start looking at videos such as Phoenix versus Tucson, Scottsdale versus an area of Tucson. So kind of going back to answering Serp's question too, I would suggest just focusing on San Diego. I would not start making videos on San Diego or LA, because when people have questions about LA, they're going to ask you and waste your time. So make sure that you are very, very specific as to who you are looking for. For Lori, on how to start a strong referral partnership, I am not sure how big your brokerage is. This is what immediately comes to mind. Tierra Antigua, that's probably Arizona in full, right? Like in Phoenix too. I know that it's very common in Tucson. They have a pretty big market there. But if your brokerage has a partnership or like other franchise, I'm not sure if it's a franchise or not, but other offices in those areas, one for Scottsdale, one for Paradise Valley, I would physically go to their office and meet people. Of course, always think, what's in it for them? Why should they take their time out of their busy day when they could be making money working with clients to meet with me? Bring something of value, teach them something, whether, are you good on YouTube? Are you good on Instagram? Are you good on XYZ? Can you give them maybe 40%, some sort of like what's in it for them, have it be good enough for them to be like, wait, yeah, I want her to come. I want her to teach this class, or I want her to come so that way, yeah, whenever I have a listing or a referral out in Tucson, she'll pay me 40%. That's a no-brainer. You want it to be an absolute no-brainer for them to choose you. And then maybe over time you can kind of switch that 40% down to 35 or 30. But always think like what is in it for them to want to choose you out of all the agents in Tucson. And as you know, boy, are there many. There are so many. Why should they choose you? So with that, when you meet with them, I would say in person, just because you're so close. I would make sure that you are telling them the specific areas that you work. I work XYZ suburb and XYZ suburb, or anything, 800,000 and above. Like that is what I work. That's what I specialize in. So I want you to think of me. And of course, continuing to maintain contact with them. But you also mentioned that you've already done the classic common sense thing. So likely you have already done that. So step 2, if you are looking to change brokerages this year so you can increase your business and you want to join us at eXp Realty and would like either myself, Ali Garced, or Shelby Johnson to personally sponsor you in, so that way you have access to 2 icon agents, text the word join to either my number, 914-318-4918,
or Shelby's number, 859-267-3849.
If I sponsor you and you have access to the both of us and everything that's 5 Pillars Nation, we have the checklist, the systems, the processes to help you scale your business. And don't take our word for it. We've had agents switch brokerages to join us that were stuck making $300,000 GCI, and they join us so they can scale. So text the word join to those numbers and we'll take the next steps. I would say would be to potentially start a team. I'm not sure how Tierra Antigua works. But why not start either a formal team or an informal team? There are good agents in those areas, as you know, but how do you become the number one referral agent that they trust with their Tucson leads? Could be to create it. So for example, the first one was more so, who's already out there, build on whoever's already working there. The second one is create it, start a team. There are a lot of brokerages where I think that this would be easy. So I want to make sure that I'm answering your question correctly. And I asked you like a follow-up question to this, so that way I could try to get it as best as I could. For example, with EXP, what we would do is just go on the workplace and look up. What I would do is look up Paradise Valley icon, or Scottsdale icon, and those are the top of the top. Those are doing the most transactions. I'd reach out to every single one of them. They're going to be a lot because EXP is very prevalent out west, and I would ask them a couple of things. Number one, I would look at the reviews. Number two, I would say, are you going to handle this lead personally, or are you going to pass them off? Either way, even if they're not an icon, I would ask them that, because you may get screwed out of the referral. But also it's so much easier within EXP to EXP. You get paid the same day and all that. But also it's good to start a partnership that way, and it's easier to start a team. I'm not sure how easy it is to start a team with Tierra Antigua, but it would be pretty easy to start a team with EXP, or any other cloud-based brokerage. I'm not telling you to switch brokerages. I'm kind of thinking about it the way that I would want to, because I have referral partners in those areas. They're EXP because I go with the EXP first. It's not a formal team. It's just a referral partnership, and I pay them. We pay each other extra, so it's not the 25% referral. That way, we are always each other's go-to, and as long as they close, as long as they close, they're going to keep getting the referrals. And same thing with any referrals that they have, or that she has going down to Tucson. She hits me up first. If you want to talk about the team stuff, I am more than happy to talk to you about it. I have some videos on my channel, but I can connect you with someone that knows a lot more about that than I do, as far as the brokerage or what that looks like. Overall, though, so that's like how I would penetrate the area. Penetrate, okay. But also, I'm not sure if you do YouTube. I would maybe start doing YouTube and just do like, hey, I do Oro Valley, or I do 800K plus, or whatever your specific niche is. I'm just such a big proponent of YouTube. I feel like my answer is always YouTube. Like no matter what, I'm always like, you know what, you could solve that with YouTube. So I sound like a broken record here, but I think that would be really good, because that way you can only make videos on just your area, talk to your specific client, talk to your, the data that you're looking at in the MLS is different from data from, from condos or that are sitting longer, or single family homes or Vale, et cetera, the other suburbs. That would be, I think that would be a big hit, because I don't, in being that we work in the same area, I don't see many, actually any real estate agents on YouTube that work one specific area. So I think you would crush if you did that. Either way, whether you do YouTube or not, what I would do is also, like, I found a big help in my business is starting to narrow down the questions even more. So for example, now that I think YouTube is pushing my stuff out with other Phoenix type stuff, I'm getting some clients that are now interested not just in Tucson, but in just Arizona in general. So I'm now starting to have to ask the question of, how committed are you to Tucson, or are you still looking around? Because if they are still super early in the stage of just looking around, I may not want to pay thousands of dollars to a showing agent to show them around when they decide to not even move to Arizona at all, or not decide to move to Tucson. Even if I have the buyer broker agreement, I'm just at that point right now. So just be very, very, like, I'm preaching to myself right now. Be very, very specific, however you want to do it. I am now saying no to a bunch of not, I don't want to say bunch. I'm now saying no a lot more than I used to. I'll leave it at that. But starting the conversation off with, how committed are you to Northwest Tucson, to this area or this area, or are you still looking around? That'll give you a good sense of, how serious are they about this area, or are they going to end up just purchasing in Scottsdale instead? Whether you get your leads from YouTube or say Instagram, or really in any way that you get your leads, I would say, um, especially for YouTube, once you have that one referral partner, and maybe a backup in Paradise Valley, once you have that one referral partner in Scottsdale and the backup, maybe start including them in your marketing. You could share marketing expenses, 50-50. And it kind of gets more into a team there. And of course, always check with your broker and make sure it's allowed, especially from, different brokerages or whatnot. But that could be a good way to say, hey, let's set up a YouTube channel together where you and I could be both like interviewing each other, pretty much like sharing screen. This is what Tucson's like. This is what Scottsdale's like. And the next video could be Scottsdale versus Paradise Valley. You all can share the expenses of what it costs for a YouTube editor, anybody to help you with your algorithm or anything like that. All I'd really have is just like an editor right now. And then that way, any lead that comes in could be split amongst the three of you. That's just an idea. You would really have to trust people that, before you get into a business partnership like that with them. But once you have people like that, it may be worth looking into, because anytime you can decrease expenses, man, that would be nice. And then also, just even if you're not going to be as obvious about that, like, hey, this is my referral partner, say Jessica. This is Jessica. She's my referral partner. So if you decide to purchase in Tucson, I'll be helping you. If you decide to purchase in Paradise Valley, Jessica will be helping you. And getting her face out there, even if you don't want to do as much, you could still start introducing the names of your partners, so that way the clients know, okay, if I'm not working with Lori, I'm at least gonna be working with Jessica, and they're on the same team, or at least they're partners. So that way it'll warm them up. Same thing, vice versa, where they reach out to Jessica, and that way Jessica has the same auto text or auto email or auto video bomb, something like that says, hey, if you don't plan on purchasing in Scottsdale, we do suggest, if you want to plan on moving to Tucson, Lori Pearson is a great recommendation that we have. So also, Lori, if you're going to be using a Calendly, or however, you start creating the appointments with buyers that come from relocating, out of state, like you said, what you could also do is, once you start the team or informal team, once you have partners, you can do kind of like a round robin too. Whoever shows up, whatever drop down they're looking for, whether it's Scottsdale or the drop down of Tucson or the drop down of Paradise Valley, it'll be assigned to that specific person. So that's also something, an AI tool that can help you. So that way you don't have to sit on these calls when they end up saying, actually, I kind of wanted Scottsdale. And that way you don't have to waste your time. But as long as you set up expectations early, like, hey, I want to be your go-to agent in Tucson, I will pay you 40% up until, I'll prove myself. For 40% for the first 5 transactions, they'll move down to 30 because I promise you I will close. That's a really good way. If someone said that to me, I would say, heck yeah, let's do it. And then, as always, over communicate. Hey, I met with this client, or I haven't met with this client yet. I've been emailing them 3 times. I called them. I left 2 voicemails. Can you help me light the fire again, because it seems like they're starting to ghost me? Can you contact them saying this? Here's the thing of what to say. And then that way, all they have to do is just copy and paste. Make it as easy as possible for them and let them know, hey, I'm trying. We're communicating, and every single time you communicate with the client, communicate with the agent saying, what happened. They are going to be in love with you. Okay, something like that. I hope that helps. Please, Lori, if I didn't answer your question, hit me up on Instagram like you did, and I'll get back to it. The next episode is going to be with Shelby. Question number 3 comes from Caleb Drake, and he is Drake O on Instagram out in the Pensacola area, Pensacola, Florida. He asks on social media lead gen and SEO. He says, tactically, what are some actual social media marketing strategies and SEO for lead gen? So, Caleb, we've actually had this question a couple of times now. I think 3 times about SEO specifically. I am not a pro on SEO, but I think we should really get Shelby's husband on here, Drake. So, Drake could answer your question, Caleb Drake, about SEO, since he's a lot better about that. But I'm going to try my darndest. First, with SEO and being organic, without paying for ads, without paying for leads, I would say your Google is always best. Google business page, make sure that's set up. Make sure you have videos on there and photos on there. And I have something on my calendar to remind me every 2 weeks to upload a new photo, whether that's a photo of a closing, whether that's a photo of one of my listings, or me and a client, anything. I upload a photo and I ask for 5 people every 2 weeks for a review. So making sure that that's always being maintained and updated keeps you at the top. In my very last email for buyers and sellers, email number 6, it's asking for the review. And in that email, I have actually, you probably know this since you were, part of our crew. I have a screenshot of an example of somebody leaving me a stellar review, and it's like paragraphs long. I want to set the standard. This is the type of review that I'm looking for. I have like no shame. I'm like, hey, this is what, copy and paste. And then I also tell them, please include the words Pensacola, Florida, or include the words PCSing to Tyndall. That's not Tyndall. Whatever, whatever Air Force Base it is, the keywords, so that way you pop up in Google. And dude, I see you making some more videos on Instagram now. So heck yeah, I would start YouTube. But even if you don't want to start a whole YouTube channel, you could make super quick videos and throw it onto a website, just something to drive more SEO traffic, whether it's a blog with the appropriate backlinks. And we could talk more about that with, someone else that knows way more about that than I do. But overall, that could help a ton. If you don't want to be on video as much, there is something called 11 Labs where you can clone your voice. So you just have to upload a couple of videos that you've already done, clone your voice. Why not make a podcast about PCSing to Pensacola, Florida, or buying or using the VA loan in Pensacola, Florida? That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger does. And I think I mentioned that in the last episode. I think it's called Arnold's Pump Club. The entire podcast is just AI. It's not Arnold. It's Arnold's voice that's been cloned. So that's an idea too. That way you can have some Zapier, some zaps, and make it more AI automated, so that way you can have a system that's just like constantly making stuff without you. And I know that you have an assistant too, so that way he or she can be doing that as well. So it could be a podcast. You can also turn that into a blog, whether that's on your brokerage website or your own website. Something that I started doing on my Tucson channel is interviewing. I've only done one so far, but I interviewed a client. So it's been a year after their closing. We've maintained contact, and so I invited them onto the podcast or my channel. So you could do something like that. You've closed so many clients, so I'm sure that people would want to jump on and be like and share their experience with you. That provides the viewers or anybody listening, if it's just going to be a podcast instead of YouTube, a different perspective. So it's not just Caleb talking about how good of a negotiation skills that he has to help you purchase a deal. You're hearing from the client too. So that could be an option too. Just always making sure that you say in the very, very beginning of any YouTube, blog, website, anything like that, the city, the type of loan that you work, the type of client that you're looking for. So pretty much like a call to action in the beginning, middle, and end. So that part is just the organic stuff. You could also, of course, pay for ads too, pay for local Google ads. We've done a podcast on that actually. I will have to look up which one. But we've done a podcast on that. You could pay for YouTube ads. Now, as you've probably noticed, YouTube even has advertisements after you hit the pause button, which I think is kind of annoying. But you can do that sort of ad too, which is just a still screenshot of like, hey, want to work with Caleb, PCSing to Pensacola, Florida? Here's the QR code, something like that. So that's something to look into as well. But I would suggest, before paying for any ads, make sure that you're using the same content of organically of what hit the most. So after you post, I don't know, like 100 different types of call to action or content or giveaways, lead magnets, see what had the most engagement and then run money behind that. The last question comes from Jason Jag. I believe his last name is Jag. On Instagram, he is Jag Jason, and he asks on mindset, how do you understand your train of thought and aptitude to undertake those actions? What's interesting is that I normally don't really talk about mindset. I just talk about tactical. Here's a checklist: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and do it. So mindset is talking about mindset is somewhat new to me, which is ironic because I actually just came back from a real estate wealth builders conference where I was one of the keynote speakers and I spoke about mindset. Oh man. But anyway, so I'm going to do my best here, Jason Jag. All right. One thing that I ask myself whenever I'm kind of like feeling down in the dumps or noticing that my mind is starting to drift somewhere where I don't want it to go is I ask myself two things. One is, would I care if my sister had the same thoughts going on in her head? If it would make me upset that my sister was thinking the same thoughts that I was telling myself, I don't know if it's that I care about her more than I care about myself, but that would bother me. So if my sister had the same thoughts, or someone that that you love, if they had the same thoughts, if they were talking to themselves that way, would it bother you? If it does, then at that point you need to reframe your thought, or you need to think about, why am I having these thoughts and what is the evidence behind these thoughts? Do these thoughts have any proof to it? If it does have proof to it, how can I change it? How can I better my circumstances tactically? What is the actual next step to better my circumstances? No matter how small, what is the next step? Pick up a pen and draw my vision board. Pick up the phone and call that client back, or whatever it may be. What is the most important next step? I have notes in my phone where I keep like the most interesting quotes that I've heard that I like and I refer back to. So just reflecting on that question of, how do you understand your mind and how do you train it? I feel like it's always stepping out of the comfort zone. And one of the quotes that this question reminded me of was a Tony Robbins quote, and it's, a decision made from fear is usually the wrong decision. And I think about that a lot. It's actually the screensaver of my phone right now, as you can tell. A decision made from fear is usually the wrong decision. Now, of course, not always. You can't just make this a blanket statement. But a lot of times when you're trying to avoid something, it usually means that you need to be doing that thing. And the faster you can do that thing, the less anxiety you're going to have. Because the further you delay doing that thing, the more anxiety you have, the more you prolong it, the more you suffer in that anxious state where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to make that call, or, whatever it is. So just do it. The faster you do it, you're going to feel better. If that thing is not something that you can do right away, then at least put it on your calendar and have a specific date and time to do it. I would always, try to suggest doing it faster. Well, I don't want to say always. I don't know what the situation is, but try to do it faster so that way you can avoid all of that anxiety. Just get it done and start solving the next problem. Another good quote that reminds me of this is Nelson Mandela's quote, which is very similar to Tony Robbins, which is, may your choices be reflective of your hopes and not your fears. But overall, if you or anyone listening to this, not you, Jason, if anyone is in a lull right now, or you're feeling kind of down, or maybe you're going through a burnout phase, always, done is better than perfect. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop waiting for the stars to align. Unlimited predictability is more valuable than intermittent quality. As you're trying to understand your train of thought, something that I've heard before is you can never control your first thought, but you can control your second. So always try to pause before you react, pause and think, and then control that next thought. This hurt me, or I feel fear, or I feel anxiety, I feel, happiness, anything. I'm going to choose my next thought. If this was a thought that somebody that I cared about was telling themselves, would I want to help them get out of it? And how do you help them get out of it? What is the next important next step, no matter how minor it is? I hope that this episode was helpful. If you want more of this, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Tell us why you like this show and drop your comment. I promise we will get to it. See you in the next episode.